Living between Wednesdays, just trying to get by to the next fix. Living between Wednesdays, prefer the comics over the Netflix.
What's up, folks? I'm your host Konrad on Wednesday Night Reviews, and I'm joined today by Doug Knight, a comics creator who's going to let us know about the new Kickstarter campaign they've got going on starting today. Check out the links down below. Doug, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey man, thank you very much for accommodating me on such short notice.
Absolutely. Well, if the pre-show banter was an indication of anything, this is going to be a lot of fun.
No, now I'm going to turn it all off.
Yeah, no, it's super monotone, just nothing. No more fun, no jokes.
I am the wall.
Yep. So, yeah, as always, to start with I hope it's an easy question. Who is Doug Knight?
It is a question that gets easier the more interviews that I do. What I am learning based off of what other people tell me is apparently I suffer from toxic positivity, and I am a workaholic through every design of my life. I am located north of the Wall up in Canada, just a little bit outside of Toronto, and I have been creating cool pictures since about 6 years old. Hopefully, they get better every time I put pen to paper, but that's me. I'm just a hardworking dad with big aspirations.
I love it. And you know what? I am positive if you keep at it and you're a workaholic, you'll be fantastic. To talk about your talents, we are obviously going to talk about Cross-Eye Comics, which is your comics company, where you've created multiple comics where you write and draw them. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. Question behind you. You have a ton of really cool posters, sketches. I'm not sure exactly the medium prints, maybe.
Yep.
Are those of your own creation? Are those ones that you've picked up from some other people?
No, I don't have the class to pick out other good artwork. I just make it myself.
Nice. That is such a humble brag. I love it. Then you know what? We're here to talk about your Kickstarter. So tell me about it. What's going on with you and Kickstarter this month?
So I am launching the Kickstarter. Well, I launched today at 11:11 a.m. the Kickstarter for Chiasm issue 0. But because I am an eager beaver, I already got them printed. so, um, it's kind of a real fun way of getting myself out there and seeing kind of what kind of community support I can drive, and then really getting my toes wet into my first Kickstarter, and just like having fun with pushing my art as far as I can, especially like if the sketch covers pick up and stuff like that, so that I can start set aside time to really grind out some cool artwork for people. And Yeah, it's also a really cool opportunity to develop relationships in the indie comics community. I'm working in partnership with Mark Bernal and Lesser Known Comics. He's like the potentially the sweetest and coolest person that I've met in a long time, all rolled into one. And so what we're doing is we're dividing and conquering our distribution responsibilities. So everything in the U.S. Is going to be handled on his end, and everything in Canada is going to be handled on my end. Which is going to, it's basically, it allowed us, like we sat down last night and it was so nice to be able to set shipping at the same cost around the US
Oh,
and Canada, right? So it's like,
wow.
it's not a ridiculous point. I've kind of like cheated a bit of the cost of my books with a bit of overtures that shipping may incur as well. So like it's not a full load on the purchaser and stuff. So just really having fun to see kind of like what I can do for the people without breaking my back, and just again trying to get as many issues of chiasm out there, so I can start the argument of is it chiasm or chiasm or chasm or chism, or because what's better than nerds fighting over how to pronounce something.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask, is it chiasm or is it chasm, or what is it? So it's chiasm for those out
That's it.
there.
So chasm is a giant divide that people have to jump over to get to the other side. Chiasm is an intersection of objects or thoughts or opinions. It's kind of like one of those ubiquitous references to opposing concepts.
Huh.
In my case, it refers to the optic chiasm, which is where my brain tumor is located.
Perfect segue. So yeah, tell us about your brain tumor. Tell us about what's going on with your optic chiasm. Um, Give us the lowdown.
Sure, man. Yeah. So at the age of 6, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it's sitting on top of my pituitary gland, and then wrapped around the optic chiasm. So like where the two optic nerves, those little eyeball filament things, you got it. They cross over, and my tumor was just like, I'll take some of that, and I'll take some of that, and like just kind of like sitting in its little like demon throne. And so it what it did was it caused tremors as a child, which broke pieces of my optic nerves off. So it causes two different reactions in my eyeballs. One is like when you've got a camera and you're autofocusing on something and it just keeps going. So like my eyes are always kind of like buzzing around to find that sweet thing. And
Okay.
it also gets I get broken image by the time it gets to my brain. So it's like when you're playing games with like a HDMI cord that's been bent or like put too much pressure on it, so you get like the patchiness and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the it's I get like a whole cocktail of like of trouble coming out of my eyes, but my eyeballs are healthy and my brain is good. So it's kind of like the way that it's situated, they can never remove it, but they did control it with chemotherapy.
Ah.
It's just a benign dug pebble now. I do long term follow up with it. Every couple of years they run me through an MRI, and I get to do the whole dance and cross my fingers that I haven't deteriorated or it's not growing or the clock isn't ticking in any way. So it's like a factor, but like I do stuff like not smash my head off of concrete anymore, or things like that to avoid aggravating it.
I mean, generally, that's just a good idea. Like, I don't want to do that either. So,
Yeah, but I mean
yeah, it sounds like
skateboarding
you're
and
good.
stuff. Yeah,
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 fair enough. Yeah. Um, Interesting. So, before filming, we were talking about accessibility, and you mentioned
yeah,
on your Mac you have your accessibility settings cranked up, and
totally.
you sent my way an app called Visling.
Yeah,
Um, so I definitely want to get back into the comic just to give a little
totally.
bit of context to your world and
Mhm.
how you literally view it and work in the world.
Yeah.
Tell us about that aspect that a lot of folks, myself included, just don't understand because we don't experience it.
Yeah, for sure. So I believe that like one's like limitations are there's the obvious like what sets you apart from being able to drive or do anything like that or with any circumstance which makes it an exceptional case of living. But I think the way that you can control that is by your own self advocacy, right? Like
Hmm.
if you can't get somewhere, nobody's going to know you can't get somewhere if you don't tell them like I can't drive, I need to get there. And typically people are pretty accommodating as long as you don't over ask for ridiculous things. um, so one of the big things for me is that I love literature, and reading is a very fatiguing thing. One of my biggest barriers for getting into comic books as a child was the fact that like I couldn't read speech bubbles. So it's like I could see these incredible drawings and these renders that were so cool, but like unless it was whoosh or snicked, like I didn't really know like what was going on, right? So that's why
Yeah.
the drama of the visuals were great, but I was still getting no game in or no great writing, right? So like it wasn't until I really dove into audiobooks, which was at an early age, but like that I was able to unlock that ability to like get all the information that other people were getting. And if not, maybe a little bit more because the audiobook process, cuts down like the amount of time that I have to take from reading.
Yeah.
So a lot of my information consumption comes through audio measures. And then what happened was I got this magical email from these incredible people from Wichita State University saying that, hey, we're working on this app. We love what you represent, and we would love to kind of utilize your book as our first comic book that we're going to upload onto this app. Where what they're doing is this really cool, like, haptic feedback comic book experience where they've got like a guided view where if you touch and hold the panel, if you go off the panel, they have like your phone will buzz you back into the path that you're going on. or they've got like a free range mode where they have every item labeled, so you can press and hold on it, and it'll tell you, little girl with curly hair, or like stuff like that. So it's like
Yeah.
really, really exciting. And the other thing too is because they want to make it a dynamic experience, they're hiring voice actors, and like it's like this whole crazy thing. Like, do you want to be a part of casting? I'm like, oh yeah, like, so it was really, really cool. And like, I think they said that their latest launch date is mid-October. But if it takes longer, like, I'm honored to be a part of that, right?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my textbooks were literally like newspaper size with like 24-point font in them, and they would come in like 4 volumes. So I would
Oh.
have like, and all the pages would be mixed up from where my other class, like the actual numbered pages were, right? So like people would be reading about like Ulysses, and I'd be like checking out Napoleon's underwear drawer, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's just like totally, like, again, worlds apart, and having to catch up and like, or calibrate. So school was frustrating because I didn't have good audio means. This app, they're designing all the textbooks that are in schools to be able to pair up exactly where they are, and so it's really cool. I'm super excited to be a part of the accessibility movement. Yeah, that's I seek the opportunity that I want to create, so that I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, and I don't like embracing like a victim mentality about not being able to keep up.
I love it. And so one, the app sounds incredible. Um, I think it's cool that your comic is going to be on it for their initial release.
Super stoked.
Ideally, 2-ish weeks from now. If it, like you said, if it gets pushed a little bit because they got to tweak it, whatever.
So mid-October, I might have. I think they
October.
said
Okay.
mid-October. Yeah,
So
yeah,
whooped another month or two.
yeah. A
Oh
few
my god,
months.
that's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah, totally.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you've been able to, especially with a lot of technology, adapt, and in a lot of cases overcome and become a
Mhm.
part of such cool projects that will help
Yep.
yourself, but also a lot of other people with similar visual um, impairment
Abnormalities. Yeah,
abnormalities. There you
yeah,
go.
yeah,
Basically, get to enjoy the stuff that I love.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
Before we get into the nitty gritty of chiasm and what it's about, and your art, which is behind you, which is awesome. Um, Obviously, comic books being a visual medium for about half of it, arguably, or more,
Mhm.
uh, with your vision, that would present an issue. So, as I touched on earlier with your Mac, you've got your accessibility turned up to like 1,000,
Or
um,
more.
or more, like maxed out, go all the
Mhm,
way.
mhm.
Um, how do you create some of the awesome drawings that I'm looking at just behind you? Like, what's your process? Are you fully digital? Because I imagine that would be easier on you. Do you dabble half and half analog, print it out, color it, or what's the process? What's Doug's workflow?
So I create based off of my children's sleep schedule. So
Okay.
it's like I love being able to put markers down or paint, or work off of physical medium, just because it's kind of my wheelhouse, right? I can control the lighting, I can do everything like that. Like it's funny enough,
Oh.
so that's all marker. I don't know if illustrate. Yeah, so the one behind me is all marker, but then this pencil sketch is all digital, right? Um,
Oh, okay.
so like I think that one of my things is like, if I have to work mostly digital, I still stay true to the fundamentals of like my handcrafting. And I think that it kind of ties it in. So it's like there's going to be a moment where someone's going to say, "Hey, draw a backflip," and I'm like, I don't want to sit there and be like, "Well, my pencil's not charged," and like, I also have a 10-year career in tattooing, so like, um, being effective with sketching for people and stuff is it's important for you know what I'm saying. So I like working
Yeah.
however it goes.
Okay, that's amazing. So you also do and have done for 10 years tattoos.
You bet.
Wow. I,
Yeah,
I did notice in a shot you were sipping your drink. You're covered in ink, right?
yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
at least your arms are, from what I can see.
Yeah, it's not exactly a California bodysuit, but I've got some good coverage, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of getting a little off topic.
Okay.
How much of your own ink did you draw, and how much have you let artists do their own thing on you?
I've let like very few dudes kind of freehand anything on me. Just not as a lack of trust, but a matter of just like I like drawing my own concepts and seeing them rendered.
Mm-hmm.
There is like a large and growing. It's kind of like the less time that I have for my own grand design, the more that I'd be willing to go to like some of the dudes that are like heavy hitters. That I would just be
Okay.
like, rock something like. Generally speaking, I'd be cool. Put a skull on me, I'm good, right? But that's where I'm at on that. Like I've got lots of stuff that I've got buddies just hey, let's go hang out. I did this design, slap it on me, and it all works out pretty good. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'd say like I'm 90% covered in my own artwork. Actually,
Cool.
I have a funny anecdote about this one is when I was doing my apprenticeship, I walked into the shop and kind of this weird thing was in the air, and the girl who worked the counter said, "Hey, Doug." I was like, "Yeah." And anytime someone says, "Hey, Doug," or whatever, I always just assume like I've done something to screw up, and like I'm about to get like the talking to, right?
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So they're like, "Hey, Doug, yeah, have you talked to Ben yet?" I said, "No, I just got here. Do you want me to go get coffee?" "No, don't get coffee. You have to talk to Ben." And so I'm thinking like, okay, so Ben's mad at me for something, but Ben was never mad at anybody, and if he was, he didn't tell you, right? And then so I was like, okay, well, I got to go downstairs, get my stuff set up, and then I'll go talk to him. Yeah, go talk to him like right now. I said, okay, okay, whatever, whatever. So I go
Ooh.
downstairs anyways, and I get my stuff set up, and I start my like get the scrub set and everything, and I walk into the office that was in the basement at the time, and both the owners are going, "Hey, Doug, did you talk to Ben yet?" I'm like, "No, you guys are number 2 and 3 saying talk to Ben. I'm gonna go right now once I get the ultrasonic going." So I get everything set up, and then I start going upstairs. Two other people saw me. "Have you talked to Ben yet?" I said,
Oh my
"No."
god.
Okay. So I get upstairs. Ben's working, right? And like the shop that I was at was like a real high like priority on like customer service first. Like you never, once you start, you don't stop, whatever. And
Yeah.
so I walk to the door. Ben like slams his machine down, looks at me, he's like, "Yo, can I rock Doug Life on you?" And I'm like, that's what everybody was like trying to get me up here for. He's like, "Yeah, man, Doug Life would be sick." I'm like, my gears are turning. I'm like, he's like, like Thug Life, but Doug Life. I'm like, yeah, no, I get the funny nature of the joke. Like, it's like, where would you put it? He's like, I don't know, man, like on your knuckles or like across your gut, like, and he's like really animated about us. So I was like, I don't know, man. Like, well, I'll have to think about it, right? Like, knuckles is a big commitment, and the gut at that point was very portly, right? So a few months pass by, and my buddy Ben opens up a shop across the city. And then my other friend stops me one day. He's like, "Yo, man, what's up with that Thug Life tattoo? You gonna do it or what?" Like,
Oh
I was
my
like, I
god.
was like, I don't know, man. I just like, I want to lose some weight if I'm gonna do my stomach. He's like, "Bro, there's like a 60-40 chance that stomach's with you for the rest of your life. You might as well make it look good, right?" And it was like that, like stuck with me. And so, like I messaged Ben, and he's like, "Dude, I will clear a spot for you next week." And so I was like a tattoo that had nothing to do with. I sat down, we slapped Doug Life across my gut, and it was like one of the best times of my life.
Wow. That is amazing.
So, so
Just wow.
I'm sure as I get like more popular on the con circuit, it'll be like, "Can we see the Doug Life rocker?" And then like it'll be like the Burt Kreischer machine thing, right? Like, okay, fine, just lift the shirt for a minute and let everybody have their chuckles.
Oh yeah, Instagram is full of people getting that Doug Life photo in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay, so hey Doug,
yeah.
talk to me about Chiasm.
Okay,
The
man.
comic itself. What is it? The cover looked wild. If you could put that up again, that'd be great.
Sure, man.
What is Chiasm?
That cover? No, that's the sketch cover. My
That'll be
bad.
the sketch one. I love the braille.
Thanks, man. Okay, so let's see if I can get it all in there. Mostly. There you go.
Wow, love
Mhm.
it.
So I did that marker. That's all hand drawn. And then the inside is digitally rendered.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So, what is Chiasm about?
Okay. Chiasm is a scientific retelling of my life as a childhood cancer survivor. Swap out chemotherapy with alien molecules. And then, the whole universe of it, like chiasm in itself. So chiasm ends up being the name of the superhero, but it is a very you know, like a comedy driven action, lots of sci-fi. The first 5 issues are kind of like a zany. I've got 9 issues done, by the way. The
Mm,
first 5 issues are like a kind of crazy circumstance where you see like it draws you into the body horror of being differently abled, and then like a little bit of romance just because I wanted to see if I could write it,
right on.
and then it takes you into like um, the procedure where they put the molecules into the brain,
Mhm.
which is like this 3 issue battle between like the little dude and a tumor monster, and it all happens within his like within his brain. Um,
Mhm.
so it's kind of like, I guess psychedelic or whatever, however you want to presume it. But it's like lots of sci-fi as it goes on. Like I jumped into like a future tales kind of thing where I could show like the progression of like a city and a whole world beyond that, and like you kind of see like how the aliens integrate into the society, and like because in my head I was thinking like what's kind of more fun than any controversy? It's like IP theft, right? And so that's kind of like the arc of like the aliens finding out that their DNA is being used to enhance this lowly like life form somewhere across the universe, so then they have to come and like either work with or destroy, and like so there's like this whole like cosmic
Huh.
plot that I can like really expand on, right? And then like the chiasm character itself is like this bifurcation of bioorganic and biomechanic, which is why like one side is very cybernetic and the other side is very like looks like bones and stalactites and stuff.
Mhm.
And that has a lot to do with my passion for the tattoo industry, right? Um, so I'm basically using it as an excuse to draw whatever I want, right? Like maybe more
Perfect.
dragons. I think like dragons might be a little bit of a reach, but I got another book for that. So actually, you know what? I snuck a dragon into the re-render of the first issue of Chiasm, but it's like a secret thing. So um,
Okay.
yeah, so it's just like everything. Like it's just fun. I really want people to pick the book up, not know what to expect, and then be happy with what it ends up being. So like um, I have these storylines that are designed for, I don't know, maybe 50 issues in my brain. And basically, the thing when people say what's stopping, it's like, well, I still got to build houses, make tattoos, and keep my family happy. So, if I can make it a full time gig, then I'll get all the story out there. But yeah, that's it. That's what the hope is.
I love it. No, you know what? That is the best hope to have. Um, it, as you mentioned, sort of when you started, you've got 9 issues done.
Yeah.
You've got 0 printed. Do you have the
Yes.
other 9 printed too?
No, I dropped the other 9 digitally over the unspeakable years. And when Comixology did this kind of voodoo where they said like switch to KDP, because that's the only way
Ah,
that people are going to be able to buy your new content. I was just kind of like, why put that effort into remastering all my digital if like it's kind of the perfect push I need to just jump into making paperbacks.
yeah.
I did like a super limited run of issues 1 and 2 3 years ago when I kind of like wanted to see, like, it was a vanity thing, right? I really wanted to see what my books look like on
Yeah.
paper.
Hell yeah.
But now I think starting with a 0, it's like this real big, like issue 0 is like a 14-page story, and then like a little teaser of some of my other work, and then a bit of a biography of like who I am as a person. So it all fleshes out to like a nice 22-page package. Um, but it's something that I really want to be able to get out to the world, and it's just like the like I'm here. Um, and then after that, like issue 1, because I borrowed, or I took a half of issue 1 and made this issue 0.
Okay.
I've flushed out issue 1 with more story, and then I want to take the opportunity to develop and tweak some aspects of the other books as well. Mainly being that because nothing's been printed yet, nothing's like canon, so to speak, right? So like there's a little bit too much church punching in the first like 3 issues, so I want to like
Okay.
tool that back a little bit, right? Because I do really want to like, I don't want my experiences with stuff to start to steer the book into having an unrealistic expectation from other people, right? So
Mm.
um, So there's some tweaks that I need to make but I'm hoping that by getting issue 0 as like that, oh, this guy's got character, panache, and like something that nobody else has. I want to be able to turn that and bring out the issues 1, 2, 3, where you meet like the present day Desmond Phillips, and then you kind of get like the interaction between all the characters that are inside his brain, and like all like the world building kind of as it sets, and then just be able to like continue to scale it up. So get like 3 books out as a trade paperback, and then continue building from there.
Go from there, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick question then.
Yeah.
As mentioned in Chiasm 0, on the cover is a young boy
Yep.
who gets some alien particles put into his brain to help him keep on keeping on.
You got it.
Is that I believe you said the name was Desmond Raymond?
Desmond Phillips.
Desmond Phillips. Thank
You got it. Yeah, that's Desmond Phillips. So um, one of my really fun things that I do was I like to see how many characters are all working towards the same goal but from the same source, right? So like Desmond Phillips being the protagonist, um, is kind of like you're gonna see different stages of his life and how he deals with
Oh, okay.
being exceptionally abled. But then what happens is this little dude in the corner of my book with the black hat, like the shrouded face,
Yeah.
that's Lil D. So that's the inner child, and what it represents is this split where there's a chasm to the chiasm, if you will, where he learns that if he blocks out enough light to his visual field, then it quiets the voices of the molecules in his head. So it's like this real point where the individual thought becomes a separate entity from the lifestyle that the person leaves.
Oh.
So you got Desmond Phillips as like your like little Deadpool-y like troublemaking character, like always.
You could say it.
I almost said it. But I had to stop. But so there's a scene where like present day Desmond Phillips is nervous about the comic book store girl. And Lil D's just like, well, screw her. We got the toy. We can just go back to the apartment and hang out, right? Like, so it's just like really fun like interplay. And then you've got like there's like a whole crossover event where I've got Lil D is ushering young Desmond Phillips through their like the sedated state into the future tense where they meet future Desmond Phillips, who's like already done it, already seen it, like, and he's got
Oh,
the
okay.
family, and so it's like it's kind of you've got like that. What would you say to your inner child to prep for the future? So kind of stuff like a lot of really fun things like that where it's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You know what? I think you have absolutely an amazing book. Um, I've talked with a ton of people. I've backed a ton of different projects, and sometimes when I see projects like the ones I choose not to back, for instance, um, it's because like they might have a really flashy concept or like
Mhm.
really great art, but like
Yeah.
everything else is kind of meh. All right, like it's there,
There's
but
flat spots.
yeah, it's flat
Yeah,
spots.
yeah.
From the art I've seen of yours, which is extremely bold, your choice of colors is just out there, and I love it, and it's like super powerful and potent. Um, all of the different stuff that you're wanting to explore in the comic with the characters, how they relate to themselves, and how they're introspective via separate entities within their brain, and how they react with themselves, um, as well as just because of the life you've lived and you know the world you live in, this is going to be a hell of a comic.
Excellent.
Yeah, like seriously, like this is going to be awesome. I would suggest, if I might be so
Of course.
bold, don't take too much out of your comics. I always appreciate. I went through them a first time. I'm a better creative person now, a better writer, better artist, all that
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
Tweaking and improving.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, tweak out what you absolutely don't want there, because I
Hmm.
appreciate you've grown and time has changed you from when these were probably originally drawn and created. But yeah, try not to strip out too much, because it sounds like this is definitely something you have poured a lot of yourself in, and it would be unfortunate to lose a lot of that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think sorry to cut you off, but I think like predominantly speaking, the church punching is more like reference to like um as I designed my antagonist, I realized that uh, them being like over the top, religiously driven, hurts the potency of their character, right?
Ah,
So like as so instead of like like making them like a Louisiana like God bless and all that kind of thing, like I want to tone it down, make them more, like I want it to I want their intention to come across as working for a like a Catholic organization, but still being about the science. So it's in
yeah.
like it's in expressing that in a different way. But yeah, so it's just little tweaks. Like it's nothing like I still have some panels with rosaries that I really like and stuff like that that I'm going to maintain. But
Love it.
I think just like little tweaks.
To make
Um,
sure it's character, not caricature.
exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Look at you go. I love it. I do want to ask because I've interviewed people and I've learned I'm really horrible at gauging people's age.
Mhm.
I've interviewed very young people who are like 23, where I'm like, I'm 7 years older than you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I've interviewed people who are like in their 40s and 50s, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Um, Not that I need to know your age, but how long have you been creating stories? I'll say because I appreciate might not have always been comics.
Yeah. So I'm not ashamed of it. I'm born in 1988, so I'm 33,
Oh, okay.
34 in October. I've been I started writing the book, um, I guess 2019. So it puts us like 3 years ish kind of thing. But
Yeah.
like realistically, like I've been drawing stories like whether it's like irizumi, like the Japanese tattooing that you have to tell one full tale in a full sleeve, or you know um, anything really. Like I just really like dynamic artwork. It's I've been doing that since like I've been drawing since I was 6, right? Like
Yeah.
so storytelling, like making comics. Other than my limited Marvel submission from when I was 8 years old. Um,
Hell yeah.
it's basically just been when I had time to like step back from a lull in being busy and start making my book to chase the dream. So about 3 years really pursuing the storytelling dynamic.
Nice. Obviously, you've had a lifetime of creating art, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Um,
Go ahead.
one question I do want to ask then, because it's always interesting when I get to hear people's backstories and everything that took them up to me talking to them about their Kickstarter or their comic they're
Mhm,
selling or whatever it is how they got there.
mhm,
So, um, when it comes to your artistic ability, obviously for 10 years you've been a tattoo artist, which is, I'm assuming, a buttload of drawing every day and designing and conceptualizing how the piece would look on a 3D object, like a bicep or
mhm.
someone's back or their stomach or whatever.
Yep.
Um, did you have any formal education in art, like in high school or university or college or anything like that?
Honestly, it was art was my passion through high school, so I leaned heavily onto those credits. But when I got to the end of my career as a student, I realized I was so done at pretending to see chalkboards, and I just like I'm a very poor structured learner. Like you give me a Udemy course and a 3 week deadline, like I'll learn Illustrator so I can produce something for the city, right? Like, um,
Mm,
I like when tasked and given my own ability, I'm really good at that. I did the art school tours around Ontario, and my sister went through a visual arts program, and it just like it it wasn't like it intimidated me on the fact that like I didn't want to like lie to what my physical limitations are there for, right?
mm.
And so I fell into the tattoo industry because my dad got one of my drawings tattooed, and I thought that was really cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and that was at like 14 that he got that first one. And then so he took me to the tattoo convention, and I met like all these like really colorful individuals that all had these zany backstories, or like had been doing it long enough to like be, you know, like politely rude to people, right? It's like this art form that they have. And then so I got an opportunity to work counter staff for a shop in my hometown.
Oh, cool.
And then, from there, it was like that person, I expressed my interest to learn how to tattoo. And they were very honest. I said, I know what your eyes do. I'm not comfortable like working with you on that. And so, I didn't take that as like a deep cut or anything. I went and I pursued other outlets to see where I could go. And so I finally would get an apprenticeship downtown. Where my dad was getting tattooed and where I had gotten
Nice.
tattooed. And I was really embraced by the people there as like family and as a learner. And they really took the time to like talk to me. If they saw that like I was taking on things that I wasn't comfortable with, or that were very obviously outside of my visual dexterity, they said, you are going to have to learn way faster than everybody else. That no is something that you have the power to tell people. And although it took me a little bit longer to learn how to say no to people, it is a lesson that I have had to embrace over the course of my career. But like in the time of like learning how to tattoo, man, my mentor's name is Thor. He's like this 6 foot Thor, a 6'4", like punk rock, Goliath. He looks like a Thor, right? And
Yeah.
so I say he's like a punk rock Viking. I learned from a dude who battled the demons of addiction and is now a minister out in Edmonton. And he's like one of the technically tightest acrylic painters that I have ever met in my life.
Hmm.
And so the lessons that I took from, and not to mention like everybody else that taught me the standards of like work ethic and speed. And, I want you to draw me 50 hands tonight, all doing something different. And if you don't come back tomorrow with those 50 hands done, then like don't ever ask for me to give you something else to do, right? So like high standards set for like for effectiveness. uh,
Hmm.
and so it's just like the lessons that I learned from there was about pleasing people, not kissing too much butt, standing behind your style, and growing at your own pace and accepting the challenges that you can take on. And so that's what I've built my whole artistic output from, is the lessons that I learned through my apprenticeship and the time in tattooing.
Love it. I mean, that is a hell of a way to learn to do art.
Hmm.
And I can't think of a more ultimately sort of high stakes um, pressure to be under. Because
Totally.
right, there's someone to say, like, someone doing an acrylic painting
Yeah.
makes a mistake. Okay, cool. You put a little more, paint on your brush and you
Yeah.
correct it.
Yeah.
Uh, you're tattooing somebody, you put a little bit of ink in the wrong spot. Well,
Totally.
shit.
There's like I've told it a few times, and I'll probably tell it another 100,000 times. But like the pressure that I put on myself, knowing that I'm working against this barrier of people like already assuming, well, he can't see, so let's see what he's got or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wear like these uber like heavy duty glasses to work in, and like I take all the precautions that I can to you know limit the distance between what I see and what they see and what the output is and stuff like that. But like I'll finish a tattoo and then like I'll sit on it for 3 weeks. I won't even look at it, man. Honestly, because it's just like in my head, I was so zoomed in on this like square inch of skin, so intently
Oh.
that like if like like if there's a deviation in the line that I see because the skin's stretched and I pull a line, I think to myself like, oh my god, why am I doing this? And then like I'll go back to it like a few weeks later and be like, this is good. This is really good. This is why they're not knocking on my door, because they hate my guts. Like this is like is I'm meant to do this. And so, but it's like it's that pressure and that standard of like don't f up and be respectful
Yeah.
to other people wearing your artwork for the rest of their life. That I take it very seriously when I create something for people to view in a non-permanent aspect. And like the other thing about it though is it's like I realize that this can get torn up, thrown away, and like it's not going to hurt my feelings, right? Like um,
Hmm.
somebody like I might spend 8 hours on a drawing, but like chances are like I can spend another 8 hours on a drawing that might be similar or better, right?
Yep.
But like when you render something permanently, you've got that one shot. That's why everybody has to make a good decision. And that's why the person that they come to, they're investing trust in. And I take that very seriously. Even like I apply it to sketch covers. Even like when people come to me with a sketch cover, like they want something cool. I don't want to like just hammer something out in an hour and a half and just be like, okay. You know, like I want to give them something that like
Yeah.
that makes them feel special forever, right? So, yeah, so that's it.
That's that's so cool. It's a fascinating take because I think you're the first person I've ever spoken to who's done tattoos,
Mhm.
um, and because of everything you've just talked about, it's fascinating because I've definitely talked with artists like Mike Ruth who does a ton of sketch covers, and I I in no way believe he flippantly just knocks them out and goes like, oh, who cares, right? Like
Of
he,
course.
I've watched him draw stuff. He loves what he does. He's very
Yeah.
good at it. Um, but the perspective that that way of training and doing art has given you, I think it comes across in your art because there is a polished look to it that um, just sort of gives it that step up, which is so fascinating.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Um, there's like five questions I want to ask you now. You know what? We'll go. We'll lead with the tattooing thing still. I
Sure.
wanted to ask, how do you think tattooing and the way that you have to use ink in tattoos and in skin has impacted how you choose what colors to pick when you're drawing analog or digital?
You know, that's a cool question. I would say that like if anything, I'm more conscious of uh, textures, surfaces, and like aged effects, right? Like, I haven't gotten into like coloring like tattoos on skin because I haven't like had to dive that deep yet. But like, you know, keeping in mind that like there's things you can do with like fading colors and stuff like that. Like, I think I'm a little bit more aware of that. I read a textbook years ago by a tattooer named Guy Aitchison, and he explained the effectiveness of color dynamic, like dynamic color range. So like your top surface or like whichever surface you choose is warm, then you have your neutrals, and then you have your cools. And what you do by inviting all of those into it is you get to control your light source, and you get to control like the visual expression of like what you've got going on there. And so, you know, I think I probably still like when I go on autopilot with stuff like that. Um, but alternatively, there's this like very specific set of rules with laying out your pigments in skin, and like the rule of thumb is like there's no going lighter if you've already gone dark, right? So like
Oh,
white
okay.
doesn't go over top of black if it's already down. So you have to like you have to respect edges, and you have to keep everything sharp, and like create barriers with Vaseline so that you don't stain anything. And there's a lot of like very, you know, like critical things you need to keep in mind while you're working like that,
Yeah.
dude. When you're using markers, it's kind of like a similar thing because you have to manage your bleeds and stuff like that. But then when you're working digitally, you're like, oh, I've got this little wand that looks like a lightning bolt, and I can just run that over top of this like black surface, and all of a sudden I'm doing like negative space work, right? So it's like it's almost like the like working digitally, like the wheels come off, and then like when I go back to like design a tattoo, I have to like restructure those rules. So there's like a lot of like fundamentals, and then like extraordinary abilities that like you get from both things. But I think they kind of ground you into producing the most consistent thing, because if like something looks too overproduced, I'll feel that. And then I'll go back and I'll dial it down, right? Like if I it's like photo editing. Even you see people learn how to dodge and burn, and like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes something is like way overkill too bright, and something is way overkill too dark. So I think that like the critical eye of like, you know, let's tone down the digital wizardry here, you know, and like and bring it back up. Like um, a cool trick that I learned from Scott Harris was like he's a Udemy instructor. He's a really great illustrator instructor or illustration instructor, and he's like he'll lay down like a line drawing, and then he'll duplicate the layer, and then you add like a 2% Gaussian blur to it, and what it does is it bleeds the lines just enough to make them feel like a little bit of a bleed on paper. Uh,
Okay.
and I love that like that effect. So like I'll apply that to some of my manga stuff and whatever. So I think
Sounds.
just having the fundamental like somebody standing over your shoulder being like do that better from tattooing, with the you can't do this as well, and then tie it into the like freedom of like the digital is like like um, I don't know, it's just kind of like a perfect storm. It's like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. Um, Are you currently working actively as a tattoo artist?
Yeah, man. The unspeakable years really set me back because with my visual limitations, I'm very cautious about the projects that I choose.
Mm-hmm.
And then when tattooing was shut down across Ontario, I was fortunate enough to have low downtime because I was able to continue building, so I could keep providing for my family and stuff. I could
Yeah.
also spend the time to make comic books or whatever. Um, and then when it opened back up, I was just like, oh man, I've been sustaining without any dependency on this for so long now that I have to like dust off the book, see who still wants to work with me or who has new projects and stuff. And so it's been like a slower rebuilding process of like the clientele and stuff like that. But like, I'm getting busier. I still have like I work out of a shop in my hometown called Way Cool Tattoos. And I've got a spot there whenever I need it. I'd say that like blood couldn't make me and my buddy any closer. And he respects the fact that like I'm still a hardworking artist. So he's allotted me a lot of freedoms as far as like come and go when I need to, and know that like the door's never locked for my growth as a tattooer as well. So I tell everybody just give me 2 weeks. I need 2 weeks to plan everything, and if you fit in that slot, then I'll see you in 2 weeks and we'll do something cool. So.
Awesome. So if someone out there listening wants to get ink by you, what's the best way to get into touch for that? Is it through Way Cool Tattoo and their website or social media? Is it through you directly? What would they do?
You can email the shop, waycoolstoville@gmail.com, or like just hit me up on Instagram. Like whether you go through my Cross-Eye Comics, I also have a tattoo Instagram called The Painting Gorilla, which is attached to a great story. But it's if you're in the area where I'm at, or you want to travel, just hit me up. We can plan something. I actually have my unicorn tier on my Kickstarter is called Ink Everywhere. And the whole principle of it is like you get your issue of Chiasm, your gold badge edition, which is numbered and signed out of 40, and
Nice.
then a hand sized tattoo that's Chiasm themed, that I render for you. So I think it's
Oh,
pretty fun.
that's so cool.
Thanks, man.
You know what? That sounds like a wicked tier for your Kickstarter. Um, what are because I like to cover this because sometimes people get intimidated when they hear, "Oh, it's a Kickstarter. I have to buy it before I get it. I don't get
Mhm.
it for a long time."
Yeah.
Um, to demystify it, what are sort of some of your starting tiers? You've kind of covered your big tier, but maybe just recap it
Yeah,
again.
totally.
What are your tiers for Kickstarter?
Okay, so the basic ones. I'm just gonna see if I hamstring my. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the basic book, I've got that at $8 Canadian, and so that's like your standard badge. It's got all the content, like, um, pardon me. That's what I've got. So that's like your basic one. That'll come with a digital version as well, so that while you're waiting for it to get to you in the mail, you still have something that you can peruse and be like, I back this. Um, but I because I create everything digitally, I create it at like super high resolution so that if you are visually impaired or just a stickler for detail or whatever, you can zoom into like as close to each letter as you need to, where it's like you don't lose anything. So I pride myself on that kind of stuff, and I also compress the files. So they're still not like 3 gig PDFs or whatever. Um,
Nice.
so that's what you get with that. The next kind of option, you've got another option where it's that plus a print, and I've got lots of prints that you can choose from. I also have prints that I'm going to reveal as the Kickstarter progresses, and just kind of have fun with
Nice.
that. And then the fancy spants book. I don't know, let me know if you can get the shine on that, but I got
Oh
like the
yeah.
5 edition, and it was actually an idea through my printer. He had this like he's like my friend, I got to show you this, and he sold me on the gold badge. And at first, I was just like, I don't know, and I was like, hey, people like shiny stuff. I'm like, it's classy, man. I really like it. So I signed and numbered all of those ahead of everything. I
Nice.
have 20 of them available for the Kickstarter because they're also really good incentives for art shows or for
Conventions and
special
yeah.
kids. Yeah, exactly. So I sold like 6 of them at the last art show that I did. So I've got like there's a dwindling number, and it's always going to be something that's like sought after, if you will.
Yeah.
And then I've got the sketch cover. And so the tier that comes with, you get like your standard copy of the book plus the sketch cover, so that you can keep one, preserve, and then you can beat the hell out of the other one. And I'll bag and board everything, even if you want to tear it up and throw it away. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure you get something cool. Um, and with that, you just like, it's I've got it available so that you can tell me, I want you to draw my cousin Bobby drop kicking Elvis's severed head. So I can do that for you. You know what I mean? Like, and it'll be on Chiasm. I got to do. I got my first one through the art show that I did, and the dude's just like, "Bro, can you draw Venom?" I was like, "Not only can I draw Venom, that just so happens to be one of the created characters by one of my favorite artists, right?" And
Nice.
so it was like this really cool like affirmation point of me getting to draw, one of McFarlane's creations, and like um, to like do that as my first sketch cover, and as like this whole thing where it's like, I think this is like the stars were like kind of aligning in a way, right? So I had a lot of fun with that. I'm gonna post pictures of that in the next couple weeks as like updates and stuff. Yeah, so
Beauty.
that's that. And then as you go farther, like I'm gonna have a retailer bundle where you get 3 copies of Chiasm in that cover. I've also got a variant cover that I'm gonna put together over the next couple weeks. Then that'll be included. So you'll get 5 issues of that plus whatever you want to add on to it. And then there are the tiers where we start working with lesser known comics. And so again, we talked about how powerful that partnership is. So we've
Hmm.
got like a starter tier with them where you get like a sousson of like some of their short stories and stuff. And then there's another tier where it's like some of my favorite books from them. So they're not necessarily the short stories. Some of them are their graphic novels, like Tank McGregor or Digital Lizards of Doom. So like some really fun books that they've got that they've produced for people. And then there's the spinner rack, and it's like the couple like the issue of Chiasm, plus whatever you want to add on to that, plus all the lesser known comics books. So I think we did the math last night. They've got like 15 books or something. So basically, if you've got an empty shelf, you dump the money on that tier, and you get that plus the bolts to hold on the kitchen sink.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and again, it shows like it's the power of like supporting other creators, and not making it like this egocentric, like you can only pick my books. Like my books will come with everything, but I still really want to highlight some of the other incredible artists that are on staff with LKC. So and that's where we're at. And then like stretch goals, we've got some fun stuff like if I hit like X, I'm gonna live stream myself tattooing myself with something chiasm related. If we
Oh,
hit
that's cool.
Yeah, if we hit double X, it'll be like when Mark comes to Canada, I'm gonna tattoo him with something chiasm related. And then like the big joke is like, say we hit like $1.5 million, I'll break straight edge and drink a bottle of champagne. Like um, but
Nice.
but I think that's the power of the stretch goal too, right? Is like
Yeah.
um, getting more stickers made and getting more prints made, and I'm that guy where it's like at a convention or whatever, it's like even if you scan my QR code, you're getting a sticker. You know what I mean? Like I think like the spirit of giving more than receiving financially goes a lot longer, so that when you're at a position where like you have more than you know what to do with, giving some of that away is never going to feel like a burden or something, because it's a standard practice, right? So
Yeah.
that's what it is. So like the tiers range from $2 for a digital copy, or the like donate what you want kind of thing, so that
Yep.
the Prince of Abu Dhabi can drop that cool mill for me. Um, but then there's like the $8 tier, and this is all in Canadian dollars, so I'm not sure how it converts for US, but I know that it's way less intimidating than like someone saying, well, why do I want to pay $12 US for a mini story from an artist who, yes, is good, but I don't know him.
Hmm.
And so I've got the $8 tier, I've got the $15 tier, there's a $20 tier, and then they go up from there. So then you jump to like 38, 45, what have you. So like there's like I tried to hit as many accessible points as possible until you get to the unicorn tier, and you're like, I want to go to Toronto and get tattooed, and then I'm not,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
you're getting a tattoo at that point. That's yeah. That's the big bucks. But
you're
hey, that's
committed to
pretty
the
damn
story.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I did it. And that's based off of like I've backed I think 20 projects now. I was a part of there's a band called Murder by Death. Are you familiar with them?
I'm not. No.
Okay, so they're like indie folk rock. The lead singer's got like a real Johnny Cash cadence to his voice.
Okay.
But they're incredible. Like their storytelling's so good. And they released a book ahead of their new album, where I think it was 20 artists got to collaborate and do 3-page stories based off of their preferred songs.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, so I got to get in on that, and like um,
Ooh.
yeah, and well, it was kind of cool because last March I had drawn a strip of that same song and dropped it, and they shared it, and it got like pretty good, response from everybody. And then everybody started championing this, like, I got to see the Murder by Death comic, right? And then he reached out to me in September, and he's like, "Hey, man, would you be willing?" I didn't even read it. I like replied. I was like, "Yes, all the yes, like,
Yeah.
absolutely." And so that Kickstarter was crazy. They had obviously like a team on it, and like they released vinyls and T-shirts and like the book and their new
Cool.
CD and stuff. But like, I think it did like 440,000 or something like that. So it's like that's what I'm saying, right? Like, and it is like I think they printed 3,000 copies of the book, like. And however many of those got sold are now on their way or having reached their destinations by now. I'm supposed to get mine in the next 3 days or something. But like
Nice.
to have been a part of that was again like really cool, whether it's like whether I stand out against the rest or stand in the right spot with the rest or however it goes. It was just really cool to be included in on it. And it was like a taste test of what it is. So having backed larger projects and smaller projects and supporting my indie compatriots, I've
Yeah.
kind of put myself in the position to know that if I really like somebody, they're getting my $30 or my $45 after the conversion to US plus the $20 of shipping and stuff like that. Like sometimes it builds out to be quite the package, right? And I think keeping in mind with how intimidating that might be, I really did my best to manage both reasonable tiers and like the big ask tiers where it's people will spend it if they have it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know what? It's having that unique perspective again, just from having backed enough people and been involved in projects, which is super cool. That you have been that you're absolutely correct. I definitely think the $8 Canadian price point for a mate like one comic or for the start of the comic series, perfect. Digital at $2 or the like you said the donate, which
Yeah,
feels worth it. Beautiful, and then yeah, like the folks who are gonna be inclined to maybe get a tattoo, maybe
yeah, yeah,
get all the bells and whistles, they'll go
yeah,
for it.
yeah,
Fantastic setup, good for you.
yeah. Thanks, man.
um you know what, we're at about an hour.
Mhm.
I think I've got one more question for you, which is really short, and then my last two. um so given all of your tattooing experience, your comics experience, drawing in general, um, the fun question I like to ask is, do you yet see yourself as Doug Knight comic artist? Um, have you always just to you for a long time been Doug Knight artist because of tattoos? Has it clicked that you're like a professional artist yet, or are you still, I'm a guy who does these things, but I'm not an artist?
Hmm. The humble brag. I
Go for
I
it.
am I'm a hard worker, and if it translates as such, then that's sick. I think that I know I've got artistic ability, but my fallback is until it's paying 100% of my mortgage, and my kids have a little pot belly because of it. I'm still just a hard worker. So when it pays the mortgage, that's when I'll consider myself like where I want to be artwork. I think I know that I'm on the right track. And when I get there, we can do an interview, and I'll say, "Hey, made it." But right now, I think that I'm in the right place, doing the right thing, and it seems to be being received by all the right people. So
Perfect.
that's
Well,
all.
I love it. Definitely humble. Extremely talented. So I look forward to it. Folks out there, do check out down below all the links for the Kickstarter, which launched today as of recording. Then you know what? Yeah, my last 2 questions for you, Doug. Second last question. What have you been reading or enjoying on audiobook? What's been keeping you happy?
Okay, I just finished Wise Guy, which is the book that inspired Goodfellas. Super sick. And then I'm working my way through The Shining because I want to see what the hype is about. It's a little slower than I anticipated it being, but it could just be the audiator or the dude reading or whatever. What else? I sent you the list. I did Empire of the Summer Moon because I'm a Joe Rogan fan. I wanted to listen to what he was all hyped on. That was a really cool book about like the last days of the Comanche in the States. I read the book by Tim Kennedy, Scars and Stripes, which is a really cool perspective on, the U.S. military and somebody that's done a lot of stuff. Prior to that, I read a book series. Oh my goodness, it's escaping me, but it was all about like mages who control gunpowder and like these great conflicts, and it was like this real like bicentennial series. So really, really, really cool.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
I try to do about 2 books a month. So they're fun to draw with, and they keep the engine on the track.
Okay. So you don't just sit and listen to your book. It's sit, listen to the book, and do this other thing.
Totally. It's like how my eyes are always here and here. I'm always doing one thing here and then one thing here too. It drives my wife nuts when I'm like nodding off in the car and she's telling me like the events of the week or whatever. You're sleeping. No. I heard you tell me about. So it's my brain
Nice.
works several ways.
Oh, absolutely. Good for you. Then yeah, my last question, simple and easy. What do you want the fans out there to know?
That I am in it for the long haul, and that if you have questions, ask me. If you have comments, you can send them to me. I've got a pretty strong BS filter, so you can it comes with being a dad. You can yell at the house, but like if I don't want to open the door, your negativity is not going to affect me. I've got nothing but positive intentions for what I want to do with my career, and that one day you will see me draw Daredevil, and it'll be the blind guy that drew the Daredevil cover. Anyway,
I think, that would be perfect. Please do that. Oh my
that's it.
God,
We'll start the
I
hashtag
love
after
it.
this.
That's it. That's the goal. For, Doug Knight on Daredevil.
Doug draws Daredevil. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Nice. Well, Doug, absolutely. It has been a joy to speak with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show tonight, man.
Konrad, it was an absolute pleasure, man. I look forward to a long working career, being able to touch base with you.
Absolutely. Let's do it. And for the folks out there in YouTube land, absolutely thank you for tuning in. Again, links down below. Check out Doug's Kickstarter. Get in touch with him if you want some ink. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
Golden age to present, digest to oversize. Never miss new comic day. Yeah, no surprise. So where's my no prize? Check the letter columns. Can't find issue 2? Collector problems, cliffhangers, mysteries. You need answers. When did Batman become Green Lantern? I get it. True believer, not lying. Always up for an awesome summer crossover.